Vlogsters, how is everyone today? I'm tired. It's really early and I just couldn't sleep. My brain was like, just stop. It's really funny because sometimes like my brain wakes me up, sometimes my body wakes me up, sometimes like environment wakes me up, and sometimes I sleep like I'm in a coma. It's really, yeah. I know that it's probably a whole slew of whatever medical things are wrong with me are probably because I don't sleep enough, and vice versa. So like I don't sleep enough because there's a slew of medical, like it's a vicious cycle. I just need to do this. Hold on a second. I truly don't take that first sip of coffee in the morning until here when I vlog. And I don't make coffee good as Jim. I just don't. I don't know what it is. He presses the same buttons. He puts in the same pods. I can understand when we do like the refillable coffee. Maybe I put in more, he puts in less, like whatever. But this is like a pod from the store. Just saying. I just wanted to say hi. I wanted to come on and give you guys a little bit of what's going on and a howdy do. I actually just give you an update of what's going on right now is I want to say that I put like my foot down, but I didn't put my foot down. That's not the right way to say it. Jim has a similar thing that my dad used to have. And I don't know if it's a man thing because it's really only, well, I guess I didn't do enough stuff around my brothers to see if like they did it as well. But it's very, okay, so I'm not a sexist. I mean, not a sexist. I guess a sexist works in either direction, but I'm not a sexist. I'm not like female empowerment either. I mean, I think that we should be equal, and if men have power, women should have power. That's beside the point. It's so weird that sometimes, most of the time, they won't willingly offer up help unless you start it. Talk to my sister about this all the time. The first time I realized this, I have to tell you, just a tiny backstory about my house. My parents bought the house in 1965 with their best friends at the time. It's a 6/6. It's like a 2-story. That's what they call it, 6/6. Living room, dining room, kitchen, 3 bedrooms and a bath. And they were like the same up and down, except the kitchen was configured differently because my particular 6/6 was a model home. So they showed the 2 different configurations of the kitchen and the 2 different colors that they offered. Swapped out the kitchen and the bathroom. So upstairs had a blue kitchen and had a blue bathroom and a pink kitchen, and downstairs had a pink bathroom and a blue kitchen. Okay, that's the differences right there. So the downstairs, my parents did well and then had more kids, and then they took in my cousins, and then just things became like, it wasn't that they were having so many kids. That was a problem because it was the 70s. It was really that when they went from having, in the course of 6 months, they went from having 4 kids to 7 kids. So that was really, because they took in my cousins, that was really what was the tilt. But my mother said she wouldn't change anything to do it. She would do it again, of course, in a second, in a heartbeat. But they sort of stopped caring. Well, they really stopped affording to care for the house. Plus, with all of the people, it wasn't like you could just, let's just move this piece of furniture out and we can refinish the floors. No, it was like, let's move the 20 people, the 19 pieces of furniture, because everybody's got to sit, the TV, the thing, all the things out, and then do the floor. So it wasn't just like that. So over the course of the years, and then living by the ocean, my parents never refinished the hardwood floors. they began to buckle. Humidity, we never had air conditioning. The air conditioning was the giant fan that stood up on the floor. And I don't mean like you guys have an oscillating fan. This was like an industrial. The thing was like this round. It looked like a spacecraft. It was huge. We used to dry clothes on it. So we like take a big t-shirt and you wrap t-shirt, the fan blow. Anyway, that's a fun story. So there was no air conditioning. So of course the floor suffered. As hardwood floors that are unfinished expand and contract, especially by the beach, like the yard dirt in my yard was like sand because we lived on a marsh, sort of. As you expand and contract, when it would contract, the spaces would open and then sand and stuff would get in there, and then when it would expand, there'd be no room for it to go. So the floors buckled. That whole story to tell you that the floors buckled. My parents bought the house in 1965, and the floor started to buckle around, I feel like 83-ish, maybe. So maybe like it took a good 17 years, probably when people would be refinishing their floors. Okay, so fast forward a little bit, buckling, tripping, finally got so bad that the floor, we had to remove some floorboards so that the floor would lay flat. And then we had like a gap, and then the gap got smaller because the expansion continued. It's like when you get teeth pulled and your teeth move around your mouth. That's what I can express to you. Well, because of this, my mother wanted a new dining room floor. Now, I mentioned before, I've showed pictures. I don't remember exactly what you guys have seen, but the 6/6 we had was like, you walked in on the left side of the house, and to the right was like I think it was 16 by 12. Well, from the hallway, it was like 20. But my dad put up a pony wall. And from that to the end of the living room was like 16 feet by like 12 feet. And then it was connected to a dining room that was about 9 feet by 10 feet. And then a pony wall separated the dining room from the kitchen. And then the living room from the kitchen was separated by like one section of wall. It was probably 6 feet wide. So it was really an open concept for the most part. It's funny because, just to digress for a second, the open concept's like a huge thing now. And I'm like, I want doors. I don't know if I feel that way anymore. It was fun growing up that way. You could be sitting in the living room and talk to the person who's cooking. So I see the appeal. But when I was in my 20s, I was like, can't we just put a door and some louvers and just close up the kitchen? I don't want to look at the dishes. Anyway, so my mother, we treated the rooms. My mother treated the rooms separately. So she put, when we get carpet, it would be carpet in the living room or an area rug, whatever. So she would keep the rooms separate. When they did paneling, they paneled the living room separate than the dining room and such. So she wanted to put a new floor down in the living room, in the dining room, but of course not having much money. Like, do we put down laminate or peel and stick or whatever? So the first floor I remember putting down, was like a roll laminate. And it seemed like a good idea at the time, but we were not little people. I've mentioned this before. And, sliding out of your chair, and it just tore up the laminate. It did last a few years, but not quite long enough. And then we put down peel and stick. So we put down peel and stick. She was still alive, so I'm going to say early 90s. Then after she passed, my father was still working though. I did a whole different peel and stick. I did this like pine, it looked like pine parquet floor. And I did that, and I got those at the 99-cent store that used to be in Baldwin where the Dollar Tree eventually opened up. It wasn't a 99-cent only store because it was more like a Dollar General type of thing where not everything wasn't just 99 cents. So I got these floor tiles from there, and I think they're like $4 for $1 or something. They weren't great quality, but that's okay. They looked nice for a while. And they finally eventually went. And I never forget, I said to my father for like years, I was like, can we please replace the floor? Can we please replace the floor? Can we please replace the floor? And he's like, no. this was actually the process of putting down this little parquet thing. So he's like, oh, it's too much work, da, 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 da. So this was like my dad. My dad was like, he would be at work, and I literally would start. First thing, I wake up in the morning, start. I got my heat gun out. Got my like a putty scraper. That's what I was using. Between the heat gun and the putty scraper, I was peeling up all the old tiles and went like, he comes home from work. So I start laying down the new tile. He comes home from work. And of course, I'm not doing it right. And of course, now he wants to help. So that's what I'm saying. So, it's like that. It's like that with Jim. Jim, you know, like I have been, and I'm not, this is not a complaint of my husband. This is just talking about the difference between men and women. I, been trying to get this coffee bar done, and I'm like, it's not just, oh, it's a project that I want to get finished. It's literally like living in a construction zone, and it's stressful on everybody. It's really hard to keep clean around boards and the baskets and the storage. Like nothing's away because we're doing this like construction. And it's just a coffee bar. We're not redoing the whole dang kitchen. It shouldn't take this long. So anyhow, I've been trying to get it done for a very, very long time. And if you guys have watched the other channel at all, then you know I finally made my own mug racks. I'm not waiting for him anymore. That's what I said. I'm like, I really can't. I'm not, again, not mad at my husband. This isn't a complaint. I'm just like, I just can't wait anymore. This has got to get going. So what he's been doing, and this isn't a complaint on my husband either, and I don't know why I have to keep saying that to you, but I just want to reiterate that I love my husband, and and if I do choose to complain about him, that's my prerogative, because men and women are different, and we can do that. But the value isn't in what I complain. You know, I just guess what I'm saying. I don't know. But anyway, I just lost my train of thought. The train has left me at the station. I see me standing on the platform. The train is in the distance. Oh, what he's been doing the last couple of weeks. Really, since coronavirus started, you know, he had off on vacation when it really like kicked it into effect here in the country. He had off like 10 days, and we were doing some work around the house. But ever since he went back to work, they've put him on a basic same schedule, which he never had before. He used to have flexible days off and stuff. But what they did, the company did to basically try to reduce cross-contamination or infection of all their staff, was they said they made two teams, Team A and Team B. And Team A and Team B would, you know, not cross, you know, the guy who works in the kitchen on Team A will never work with the person at the counter on Team B, so that they don't infect each other if they're infected. So he's been on the same schedule. He's have off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I noticed since the first week, I actually like went back and like, I don't have to take a medical diary necessary, but I sometimes jot down notes about like, especially with the coronavirus. I was like, okay, so Jim on Sunday, and I would go back. Let me just tell you what I would do. Okay, so I would note, okay, Sunday he's got a headache, his joints are hurting. What did we do for the weekend? So then I would go back from there and look at the weekend and say, did we do anything physically strenuous? Did we do anything that would cause this? Like, did we spend a lot of time outside and his allergies are kicking his butt? Like, what could have led up to it? So then I start to jot down like the little medical notes, sort of like to note to self, you know? So that first week we had done work on Friday, a little, like really not work on Friday. We did like grocery shopping. And then Saturday we would do like housework. And then Sunday I told him to rest. And then when he went back to work, and he wasn't feeling good, and he went back to work Monday morning, it was really hard on him. So I was like, okay, so then maybe next week, rest on Friday, we could do work on Saturday and get groceries on Sunday, or switch those around so you can ease back into work. He's like, all right, good idea. So we did that, rested on Friday, grocery shopped, did a tiny bit of house projects on Saturday, but then Sunday he wasn't feeling good. So I was like, oh, you know, no temperature, you got aches and pains, are you coughing, how's your chest? You know, it's coronavirus, so I'm concerned. So I'm writing down my little medical notes. I'm like, okay, well, he rested, so he had the opportunity to rest. So it's not like exhaustion or exertion of the overexertion of himself. So I'm writing down my little notes or whatever. Keep my little journal. Next weekend comes. He goes to work Monday, aches and pains, whatever. Tuesday starts to ease off towards the end of the week. Friday, he's off again. He's a bundle of energy. He decides then we will rest on Friday. And again, we're going to try to work on Saturday and maybe light work on Sunday. Let's make sure we plan that light work on Sunday so that he can ease back into work. Okay. So we rest on Friday. We do whatever we can on Saturday. Sometimes it's just laundry. It's not like it's, you know, a household project. But I've had a few projects that he said, like, I will help you with them because I start doing them myself and I get overwhelmed because it's just too much work at one point. So like the coffee bar, for example, like instead of having this project last 5 weeks, I try to go in and I try to do as much as I can, and then I get exhausted, and then I'm like, and I'm in pain, and then I'm up for a couple of days, and for a couple of days, we either have to eat out, takeout, or, you know, make fend for yourself meals or whatever like that. Sorry, just got a pain there, and then there's like this weird, oh, it's just fat because there's one on the other side. Okay, sorry. So I get to Sunday, and I think the week, this last week that I realized it. Friday, we made the tabletop for the coffee bar, which wasn't a lot of hard work. Working with your husband sometimes can be challenging. Not just my husband. I've heard this from other people. Some work like a team. Some like, they both like, who's going to be the chief and who's going to be the Indians, who's going to be the foreman and who's going to be the worker bee, whatever. So we did, it was pretty good. I mean, it was a longer process than I wanted it to be. We got a delay in game. Like we didn't get to a late start, but we got accomplished what I wanted to get accomplished in that night. I mean, really, I wanted to get it finished, but I got, at least I could say one part was accomplished. Okay. Excuse me. So the next day is Sunday, and I said to him, I'm like, we've tabletopped, I've caulked, and then I polled the people, you guys, on Instagram and on Facebook. I think it went on Facebook. I think, yeah, that's why I saw messages on Facebook. I polled you guys to see, should I stain the edge or paint the edge or other options or whatever. And the majority said stain. So after talking to my sister Julie, whose husband is a cabinet maker, she's like, well, you definitely should do whatever's easiest to change. And I was like, what she meant was, if I stain and I don't like it, I could paint over it. But if I paint and I don't like it, I have to strip the paint just to restain. So she was very smart. I didn't think about that, but yes, very smart. So I whipped up that stain and I went out there and I stained it myself when I made the cup hooks racks. But anyway, so I said to him the next day, if we could just like stain it and possibly like do the organization underneath. That's an easy project. You're just going to sit on the floor. I'm going to sit next to you. You're going to hand me the stuff. I'm going to put it in its appropriate jar and we're going to put it back. That's not like a difficult, hard process. So he's like, yeah, no problem. That sounds all right. So he wakes up Sunday morning, aches and pains, nausea, like all of the same symptoms. And I said, oh, I know what's happening. Do you guys see the pattern yet? I said to my sister, I think, I was like, you know what seasonal affective disorder is? And she's like, yeah. I said, Jim's got Sunday affective disorder. And I'm not making light of it, obviously. Because we know that, or science knows that your mental condition can affect your physical condition. And vice versa. But yes, for sure. But if you like, depression can cause aches and pains. And I'm not saying he's depressed, but just saying, depression can cause aches and pains. Psychological issues can cause physical can manifest physically. So I think that he just doesn't want to go back to work on Monday, is not happy with his job right now, but he gets into this thing where he's often, I'm supportive. I try to be very supportive. You know, because anyway, I try to be very supportive. I'm always like, whatever you know, if you want to look for something else, that's fine. Whenever he's been unhappy about a job, I will first ask, like, try to fix it. When that doesn't work, then I try to ask him, like, to encourage him to just, like, ride out the bump. And then when it gets to the third time where he's just, like, really can't anymore, I'll say, that's fine. Go find something else, but find it first. Don't quit this job and then find a job, because then we'll, like, could have a period of not having. As it is, when you quit a job and start a new job, you have a period where you don't have pay. You have to, like, budget for that, you know? So I'm always, like, supportive. I don't want you to be miserable, because you bring misery home and everybody's miserable. So it's not like I'm encouraging misery. But, you know, you're grown up. Suck it up sometimes. You have to really just do what you have to do. I mean, this is just what life is all about. But like I said, I try to be supportive. Dang it. I lost it again. The train went away. I think it's because I'm a little tired. So I was talking about how Jim goes through this, maybe. Jim goes through this thing where he gets a job, the honeymoon period, it's the greatest job ever. Then reality kicks in, and then he wants to, like, leave or whatever. But anyway, so I noticed that he's not wanting to go to work on Monday. So on Sunday, and it's like clockwork. And when I went back in my notes and I looked, because I thought I was just making it up. Went back in my notes and I was like, yeah, Friday, you're gung-ho. We're going to take it easy. Do, like, that could be laundry day or grocery day or whatever that happens that week. Saturday, you're all like, let's do a project. I want to do this house. I want to clean the room. And then by Sunday, you're like a wreck. Even on the Saturdays where we didn't do big things, like take care of this, take care of that. When we just hang. And then Sunday, he's a mess. So the reason I told you that whole part about Jim was to tell you that it has taken a really long time to do this. Many projects are taking a really long time. I have filmed, did I show you guys this laundry basket update? I don't even think so, because I don't think I showed you any of this craft room redo. I have filmed hours of this craft room redo. It was still Easter time. I don't know exactly the date, but maybe I can find it and put the date down here because I still have the footage. We had cleaned off the whole couch. So I think I mentioned in that video that, which again, you haven't seen it yet, so I'm going to tell you now, that the couch had been like, okay. If you're a person who hates me, just click off now, because I'm going to tell you this is just how my life is, so too bad. You don't like it, lump it, whatever. But I do ask, I need motivation and I need help. I'm not a self-motivator when it comes to certain things. I need assistance. Plus, physically, it's a lot. I can get overwhelmed. And it's my stuff, and I don't care. Say what you want. But I never got help from, like, after Christmas and then, like, after Valentine's Day. So it's sort of like the couch became like this landing zone for stuff. So we did this whole cleaning project, hours and hours. I did my table and this area back here, and together we did the couch, folded up all of the scraps of fabric, organized this whole basket, which I'm so happy with the way it's organized. Right now it's got stuff on top of it, so don't look at this stuff. When the stuff that I had that I'm going to, like, work on my next project, sometimes I have it on my table, but when I was doing the coffee mug holders, everything had to go because they were so long. So all I did was stack them back here, but they usually go here. But I have this, I can show you. It's just going to take me moving that and then me moving this. I have this laundry basket that I always keep the, like, my working fabric and then a couple of different supplies, but mostly just fabric in there. And the reason I did that is because this is like my Dollar Tree and farmhouse fabrics. It's because if I ever need to use this as a guest room, I just pick up the laundry basket and I can put it over there and it's out of everybody's way. But I have a new tarp that I got from Walmart, if you guys saw that haul. But I took these Dollar Tree oval bins and I rolled all of like the Dollar Tree's like fleece and then fleece that I found at Walmart on clearance. Not clearance, remnants. And I put them in here, and then underneath is buckets of like, this is all of the scrap, like homespun fabrics, and underneath it is all of the scraps of fleeces. And then on the side, I got these buckets. I have another one. Let me just put that scarf down. I have another one that has like, ooh, like the Dollar Tree. These are like the rugs and towels and whatever I could use for projects. These are all like this because this is all for one project. All these blankets are for one project. And then I took 4 of these and I did all of my fat quarters from the Dollar Tree. And I lined them up, and a couple from Walmart, but mostly like that. And then I just did that. So I have like a couple of farmhouse type craft thingies. And I've been really good to keep it up, to put things away when I'm done and stuff. But anyway, so we got this whole couch done. And then he never came back to help me finish. And it's just a full confession. I am 100% responsible for it. I do not deny that. But if you can't rely on your partner for assistance when you need assistance or when you feel like you need assistance, like when Lisa comes and she helps me a little bit, but mostly she's there to motivate me. You know, like she does, like, well, Emily, of course, but Emily was like, she's up and down in the rest of life. That's fine. I mean, she's different. She's young. But when Lisa comes, you know, she's really does this, but really is here. She motivates me. But he's just like, he resents that I have the office, even though he agreed to it. It was one of the things that actually came up he was upset the other day, and he's like, I don't have my own space. You took my space from me, and I'm stuck in a place where I can't decorate it the way I want to. And I was like, honey, I love you. Like, you know, first of all, this isn't decorated the way I want to. I wouldn't have the wolf situation and the camouflage curtains. I'm just saying. This to me is a workspace. This isn't a space I come away to get away from it all. This is a space where I come and I get overwhelmed by work. But 2, when you had this office space, where was my space? In his mind, I guess the whole rest of the house is my space. But I also pointed out to him that we moved in here in 2013, and this became my space in March of 2018, perhaps. Has it been 2 years? It might be. Again, I can put that down here, but I think it's been 2 years. So March of 2018. So he had this room for almost 5 years. I've had it for 2, and he's busting my chops. And again, I don't use it for enjoyment, as I love talking to you guys, but it's not the most comfortable chair. I'd love to be able to vlog out in the living room sitting on my couch, but it's just, there's, you know, mom's space there and me talking to you. I have to talk a little louder than I normally do to project my voice to the camera. Excuse me. So this, you know, I do understand, and I feel so bad for him, and I feel bad that he feels bad. I don't feel guilty or shame, but I feel sympathy and empathy. I mean, he doesn't realize how good he's had it his whole life. That's another thing I have to point out to him sometimes. I literally, zero joke or exaggeration, got moved out of my bedroom around the age of 5, 6 perhaps, maybe 6. And I got put to go sleep in the living room on a couch till I was 18. I didn't get my own room till I was almost 19 years old, March of 1989. Some of you weren't even born yet. No, I'm kidding. But March of 1989 is when I finally got to go in a bedroom. Up until that point, and Janie, Julie, and Alicia, if you're watching this, obviously this is not a complaint on you. I'm just pointing out to tell the story about, like, he thinks he's got it so bad because he got kicked out of his private office. And it's funny because when he's out in the computer, I can't see what he's doing. If he really wants privacy, he can have privacy. Whatever. I don't care. But it's side point. Okay. He gets, like, yeah. Okay. So anyway, I had a dresser. I was allowed to keep my dress. Not allowed to. That was not rude. It's still my room. I got changed in there and I had my dresser in there. I just didn't sleep in there. So, of course, that made it feel like less of my room. But then I couldn't make the living room my room either. And then when I was like a 13, 14 years old, just starting high school, my sister was going through this, like, thing with, like, this, you know, purge situation. And because I didn't keep my little corner neat, you know, she cleaned it for me one day and, like, everything went or whatever. You know, it's like, so it's difficult. Like, yeah, you know, you don't have your whole own second room. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But we talked about it. We discussed it. We agreed. You can work in here. Nobody said you can't. You can do your Bible study in here. Nobody said you can't. It's just a lot. Like, you know, it's just a lot. It's just a lot. And, like I said before, I feel for him. I do. I'm not trying to say that I don't. I've been there, but worse. So I do. I don't sympathize him necessarily about certain aspects of it, because now, when do you get to the point where you're like, I'm sympathetic to, like, you're being a baby about it? Like, you know, there's that whole area there, and then you get to the tipping point where, like, enough. Sit back, think about this like an adult. Realistically, what are you saying? You're mad that you didn't get a man cave. Like, something my father joked about a lot, but of course, you know, sometimes that we bury what we're feeling in humor, was that, like, my brother's room, so it was only 3 bedrooms, so it was like their room, the girls' room, and the boys' room. So my brother's bedroom, he always used to joke, is like, was supposed to be his workspace, because where they lived in Queens, they originally lived with his dad, and when his dad passed, you know, like, they moved out to the suburbs or whatever, and in his house in Queens, his dad had a workshop room, but he was an only child. So you're going to come to the suburbs and you're going to live on a shoestring budget, and you're going to go ahead and have your 6 kids, and you're going to complain that you got no workroom or whatever. But it's just funny. It makes me think, you know, my dad used to joke about all the time. He's like, yeah, that's my workroom. And my brothers had to contend to my father having this giant metal, like, military-style Footlocker. I think it really was like a, oh gosh, the name of that company. There's a company that makes cabinets for offices, and they're like steel cabinets, you know, like, if you tap on them, they also make file cabinets and stuff, but if you tap on the cabinet, you hear like, like, rattle, that's whatever. Anyway, but that's what it was. It's this giant, like, locker cabinet system. And that's where he kept his tools, his fishing rod making stuff, his gun making stuff. My father used to, like, rebuild rifles, you know, whatever. All of that stuff was in the, oh my gosh, what do we used to call it? What do we used to call it? Tool cabinet? Yes. It just was one of those like terms you used your whole life and just disappeared. Yes, go to the tool cabinet. Go to the cabinet. It ended up being the cabinet at the end. That's what it was. Okay. And that was like my brother's room. My brother's room was only like 10 by 8 with the closet cut in, sort of like this, but like if we were like cut it off there. And then they had to contend with this giant cabinet in there. But I guess like my dad, Jim was an only child and didn't have to share, period. You know, didn't have to share space, didn't have to share his things, didn't have to share his food, didn't have to share his clothes, didn't have to share his toys. Not that he didn't share, he just didn't have to. And there's a difference. If anybody's got a sibling knows there's a difference. So again, I feel for him, I do. But on the other hand, I'm like, honey, that's enough. You know, you gotta just get to the point. And it's really funny that I just realized I've been talking for 30 minutes and I did not, 35 minutes? How long is that? Wow. And I didn't even mention what I wanted to talk about today. I started talking about where we were and the projects and then the work. I really just wanted to come on here and tell you that we're still working on the coffee bar. Hopefully we'll get it finished today. We almost got it finished yesterday, but then things, and then hopefully we'll get it finished today. But we also have a date night tonight. We're going to go to grocery pickup at 7 o'clock p.m. And we're going to pick up Walmart grocery at 7 o'clock p.m. And then maybe we were talking about like Applebee's dine-in is open, but they're doing like the precautions. So maybe we'll go sit and eat at the restaurant, but more likely we might just take something home or something. So we'll see. He hasn't decided what he wants to do. But I did want to talk to you guys about today. I guess we'll leave it for another day, and I'm not trying to like leave you in suspense, but hopefully I can remember to talk to you about it maybe tomorrow or the next day. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about is, and this isn't about me, so that's why I like to talk to things about relationships that aren't about me so that I don't get attacked all the time. When does support and an abuse begin? And what I mean by that is, how much does a person take before it begets a problem? So I said to my friend, I was like, your spouse says that they love you. Ask them this, because I have had to use this with Jim before. First thing I want to ask you is, you say you love me, but would you let anybody else treat me this way? That's one. And the second thing is, how much of this am I supposed to take before it becomes abuse? And that's a question that often worked. It worked with him. Whenever we have a discussion, he sometimes shuts down and then comes back and starts to think about the things that I said. And I know that about him. So we'll talk about it a lot. He'll get frustrated and I'll get frustrated, and then we'll go our separate ways and then let what I said sink in. And I know to give him some time and space to let what I said sink in. But I'm like, how much, I've said this to him before. I'm like, how much should I take? If you have a number or a limit, or, I have the loyalty or the fealty, I never say that word right, fealty, to want to work on my marriage and to not just throw it out because it doesn't work at the moment, or even if the moment lasts 6 months or whatever. I want to fix it. I want to work on us. I want to make it better. Well, how much of that do I do before it's like, oh gosh, just I can't think. My words are just not. How much of that should go on before you say enough is enough? Like, how much do you support your husband and try to help him improve himself? And I know it's like take abuse, but how much do you let the sugar honey iced tea go before it becomes the point where you have to stand up and say, stop, enough, I can't anymore? And that is individual to each person. So I'm not telling you how to live your life, or telling that, I was telling my friend, I'm not telling you how to live your life, and I'm not telling you what you need to do. I'm just telling you to ask yourself this, and then ask this of your spouse. Say to yourself, what's my breaking point? Then ask your spouse, what do you expect my breaking point to be? And find out, first of all, if they're different, how different they are. And secondly, talk about it so that you can say you're approaching your breaking point before you actually get to your breaking point. Because nobody wants to be broken. I know it's that old thing, like toothpaste out of a tube. The stuff that we say to each other, the way we treat each other is like toothpaste in a tube. You squirt it all out, try to get it back in. It's like you can. Or the broken dish, you break the dish. It's broken in a million pieces. You can glue it back together. It's put back together, but it's never the same. Those two analogies really work in this situation. But, how much of it do you take before it's like, I can't take this anymore? Or, find that point, and then when the future events happen, say to your spouse, or discuss where your point is, and then say to your spouse, I'm approaching my point. And your point can move. Each situation has a different point. When it comes to my office, my breaking point is like here, but when it comes to like other things, my breaking point's here, and then other things, my breaking point's here. Like, it depends on the situation. But, so say to yourself, like, I'm approaching my breaking point, and talk to your spouse. And that's, communication's key. And for us, it's really difficult because I have spent so much time, like, my jobs have always been like conflict resolutions, and with my friends, I've always just been like communication. And I guess coming from a big family, communication is key. My dad always taught me, when you're working together, communication's key, or somebody can get hurt, like literally, like, and when it comes to us, I don't know that we've gotten to a point, or it's getting close to his breaking point, where he just doesn't want to hear my voice anymore. I don't know if that's what it is, but he just doesn't want to talk about it, and he doesn't want to discuss it, or whatever it is. So yeah, I don't want, so I tell my friends, I'm like, I don't want you to get to that point where it's too late, so one of the things, well, I don't have to tell you our personal stuff or whatever, but just have each party discuss what their breaking point is for a situation, and then let each one know that they don't get to that breaking point, or how bad. Another thing to discuss too, and add that, is how bad would it be if you broke in this situation? So like, somebody pushed you to your breaking point, because everything's different. Not being able to talk to my husband the way I wish we could talk, or like infidelity, and I'm not picking mine, I'm giving you examples. Your breaking point for not communicating with your husband is heartbreaking a little bit, but infidelity would be like devastating for some women. So, you know what I mean? So it's like, what's the situation has different breaking points, and what your consequence for them are as well. So just, it's really important to talk to each other. It really is important to talk to each other. And hopefully both parties will listen. We were, oh, God bless us. It was the auto level, the laser level. He wanted to have a 15-minute back and forth discussion, argument, pulled out the instructions, read the instructions off the back of the machine, because he just wouldn't listen to me and my explanation because he was so sure he was right. And I told him, I don't care. I don't care who's right in this situation. I don't give two fiddles of flying poop. And you know, that's not what I said, but I edited it for content. I was like, I just don't care. Can we just finish? Like, I don't care who's right. I'm not trying to be right. This is just how you have to use it. So, and no matter how I explain it to him, whichever analogy I took, whichever like way I took, he just closes himself off. So I said to him, I'm like, what I ended up doing, and I'll tell you guys, and I'll show you in the coffee bar reveal, is when I hung the 2 coffee cup holders, and then I took a tape measure to what was left at the top of the ceiling, I realized that I had to put less space between the coffee mug holders. So we ended up lowering the top one down. And you saw me hanging the first one by myself. Other than dropping the screw, it was like vip, vip. And I'm not bragging. Oh, no, not bragging. But it took all of like 5 to 10 minutes. Moving it was 35 minutes. And that's not even what the discussion was. I mean, there was some discussion in there, but there was some discussion beforehand. But the discussion was 35 minutes to move that rack 4 inches or whatever. Boggles my mind. Like, it just boggles my mind. And I said to him, I'm like, I'm not saying that you can't work things out in your process, but you have to understand, it could frustrate me because I want to get this done and I'm allowing you to have this time. But over the course of the last 6 weeks, if every 10-minute project is going to take 35 minutes, that's why we're still doing this 6 weeks later. And I love him and I really need for him to try to, like, I'm trying to teach him the ways to do it. I'm not trying to control how he does it. I'm not trying to control how he thinks about doing it. But like I said to him before, I have been watching makeover shows. I have since I'm 12 or 13, I have a sponge brain that hangs on to stuff probably way too much. And this is where my passion lies. My passion lies in home improvement. My passion lies in decorating. This is where my passion lies in creating a beautiful thing. So I was like, can we just trust me a little bit and my expertise? Plus, I've done it. I was around that age. Like, the first project that I did with my dad was we repaneled the dining room. I was about 10. That's what kicked off my love for home improvement. I told you I slept in the living room. My living room space was all the time. But the living room was connected to the dining room. And when the dining room space got like a facelift, I was like a whole new person. I wanted to do it all. I wanted to paint. I wanted to wallpaper. I wanted to get new curtains. I wanted to get new rugs. I wanted to put down new floors. Like, I was just a crazy person. It started there. I mean, the only shows were Home Time and Home Improvement on PBS. Those were the things that I used to watch. And then, of course, life goes on and more stuff comes available. So I'm like, can you just trust me? Just ever? And he's always funny because he has it in his head. And I feel like it's from my sister-in-law. I said it about my sister in relation to my dad. And then, of course, it's filtered out that I have to control everything. I think we've had this conversation before. And I'm like, sweetheart, I have zero control over any of these situations. If I even wanted to control a situation, I know that you're going to buck me 180 degrees in the opposite direction. So even the things that I want, that I feel like I need to have control over, like, I don't know, food in the refrigerator, or, you know, like organizing a space that's mine. I know that you're gonna buck me 180 degrees, and I'm not going to try to do that anymore. Like, that's just it. I've even given up that. But he doesn't see it. He just sees in my head that I'm trying to control everything. So if I have a better way to do something, and it's not my way, I tell him to all the time, I'm like, that's not my way. That's a professional contractor way. That's a construction, that's a cabinet maker way. Go watch Norm Abrams on Yankee Workshop. And this is his way. Like, this isn't my way. Oh, God bless his soul. I love him so much. I love him so much. We had a good night last night. We laughed. Gosh, yesterday we were so goofy. It was such a good day. But it was just, and then that period where we were working together. Yeah. You know what's funny about him? And my dad was the same way too. It was like, they don't want to change. They hate change. They resist change. All of this, there's this change to change. Change is forced upon them, and then they're like delighted with the change. It happens every time. Happens every time. I don't know if it's the fear of work or the anticipation that things are going to be worse. Like, all of those probably factor into it. But once it's done, oh my gosh, this is the best decision we ever made. Oh, this is the greatest thing ever. You know? I'm in the space, again, not complaining, but I was in the midst of a purge, and I was motivated to purge, but I needed him to help me purge. I needed him to keep my motivation going. Like, he could bring me the boxes, and I'd go through the boxes. He only needed to help me once every 15 minutes for like 4 seconds, maybe 10 seconds. All right, maybe he's slow, so maybe a minute. Like, you know, I wasn't having taskmaster to sit here, like, make him stand one-legged on a chair while I bullwhipped into, you know what I mean? Like, can you bring me that box? The best, most efficient way for me to do my purge is to get, like, a box here that I put the thing that I'm going in, like, on the garbage can so I can look into it. And then I go through it, and then I have, like, a bag here and a pile here. So the pile here will be stuff I'm going to put back in the bin. And the bag there will be just things I want to purge. But it's best to empty the whole bin so I can reorganize the things I'm going to put back. So to do that, though, I'm like, you know, I'll be entrapped. And when I go to reorganize bins, sometimes it's like, get me that one so that I can merge these two. Like, I have 2 bins that say floral crafts, 3 bins that say Christmas. And I feel like 2 Halloween boxes too. So when I have that situation where I'm dealing with those boxes that have multiple boxes to them, I can't really have both of them at the exact same time, but I can be purging. Like, I can have my box here and my pile here, put the empty bin here, empty the second bin, and work from there. So I like need your help, you know, when I'm reorganizing all the flowers, I have maybe by color or maybe by season. All right, I need you to get the other basket because I love him and he helps me a lot. But I guess like many husbands or many people, when you help me, you don't always help me the way that I need to be helped, but I appreciate whatever help you give me. For example, he's like, he'll come home from work and he'll be like, you look tired. And I'm like, yeah. And are you hungry? You know, he'll be like, you hungry? I'm like, yeah, I just was too tired to make anything, like even turkey sandwich. Like, I was just too tired to do something. And he'll make me food. And then when I wake up in the morning, I got to clean up, which I guess is fair. But it's like, you're helping me, but then you're creating more work for me. So I appreciate every help that I get, and I'm sure you guys do too. But like, I have the first basket is all autumn florals, and I'll say, like, if I had something out there per se, I'll say, can you go stick it in the first basket? And then he'll look at the first basket and be like, it's super full. So he'll decide to stick it in the second basket. So when I go to reorganize the flowers, I obviously need all the baskets because I have to, you know, they all get mixed up over the time, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But anyhow, I think we'll talk a little bit more in depth about relationships and how much is too much, and empowering yourself and standing up for yourself, but without being a bully. Because I think that that's sort of a really important thing now. People are stuck at home and they're really evaluating relationships positively and negatively. A lot of people are actually falling back in love with their spouses because they didn't get to spend time together like there are now over the course of the last 5 years, and little things got together. You know, little things got on their nerves, but now that they're together and they're working like a team, it's improved their relationships, almost like a second honeymoon. But some people are in the opposite direction, just too much time together. Just go. I just need to be self-quarantining myself in the bathroom. So, yeah, I think we could talk a little bit more about that. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. We'll see how it goes. But listen, sorry this was so long, but I know some of you love it. And as always, you guys take care. God bless. I'll see you next time. Bye. Have more coffee. Coffee's delicious.